this is an exhibition debate where really you're not stating your conviction, but you're really having some good fun. Unfortunately, some people in my erstwhile profession are unwilling to make that very fine distinction. And so I was a bit hesitant about being quoted and being held accountable for something which I'd said in a public debate. Nevertheless, I'm so glad that Anand, Ranganathan crossed the floor. And I'm so glad that Tehseen also stood up robustly for capitalism, because I think it just showed that at the end of the day, there is a semblance of bipartisanship amidst all the rancor. And I think it's important to establish this. But before doing that, I think as someone who faced an election not very long ago, I was strangely tutored into thinking, why did I win this election? And I've heard lots of theories as to why I won this election. Now let me tell you something else. There was also a lot of snide asides about how the Independence Day of Kolkata or West Bengal on May the 4th was a bit of false consciousness, a bit of something, a pie in the sky, and that changing from blue to saffron is actually a regressive move. People are entitled to their opinions. But let me tell you what the Kolkata was earlier this year, before our Independence Day. It was a lovely city. Same place, the same potholes were there. People didn't come here. People often visited this place, mainly Bengalis who by and large lived outside. In fact, during my electioneering, I found it very, very difficult to catch hold of a young Bengali. I used to ask people, oh, where are your children? Oh, they're in Bangalore. They're in Gurgaon, they're in Noida, they're overseas. And what do you do? I live alone. That was it. A Kolkata of old age people, a Kolkata which had become a grand retirement home, a Kolkata where expatriates came in and said, oh, lovely food here. Then he went back after a week. That was about the endurance level. And so Kolkata and West Bengal as the epitome of exotica. See, you became something which was exotic. You'd lost out everywhere else. And so when people voted us, they didn't vote us because one chapter of some history book had been obliterated. They didn't think about that. I never confronted these questions that day. They voted us because they said, after 50 years, we've had enough of decline. It's about time we made a start once again. And most important, they said, it's about time we rejoined the dynamics of India. We'd fallen off the map of India. We'd lost out on the economic development which my friend Nilesh Shah had pointed out. We lost out on most of those. What used to happen? There are many of you who are people, wealth creators. But tell me, didn't you everyone say, the younger son, make sure he goes and stays in Bombay, make sure he stays in Bangalore? Because Kolkata was over. I knew a good Marwari businessman who used to say, you'll find me here from Friday to Monday morning. There's a nice house, everything else. Then we taught people coming back. Who were the people who were coming back? Either they had some property to hold on to, or they had ailing parents. There were no other compulsions. So to make that transition, to make that shift, to get back, you have to make something. Now, one of the things we in Bengal have had in abundant supply is that we've produced umpteen economists. I think there is an inverse correlation between the number of economists we've produced and the state of the economy. So for the economists, what matters is not GDP, not GDP, but that the rights of every pavement dweller must be protected. That every illegal immigrant must also be celebrated and made into something great. That the wealth creators are not really wealth creators, they are parasites. And that, unfortunately, was the philosophy on which we in Bengal survived for 50 years. That was the conventional wisdom. It became, and I switched to Bangla for it used to say, Bangalira Babsha Kore na. My answer to that was Bengalis run business, but they don't create business. Because you look at all the things, all the big corporations everywhere, there are bongs all over the place, on the top jobs. And those very same people will not somehow make it here, because the atmosphere is different. And that's the regressive atmosphere. And that over-politicized environment, which sort of thrives and wallows in poverty. We call it povertarianism. How we celebrate, how great it is to be poor. The charm, the music, the everything. That was the philosophy. And we've turned it on its head for the first time. We've said, no, Bengal must get rich. Bengal must produce. That Bengal, a government in Bengal can unabashedly say, we are pro-business, we are pro-enterprise, we are pro-wealth creators, and we are very glad that Karti has had an expensive education, but we want many more people to have expensive education and not merely a few. That is the difference. When Indians are lifted from poverty, when Ayushman Bharat actually guarantees some people at least 5 lakhs of rupees for their hospital bills, we consider it a success, you consider it nothing. Because you have developed a great vested interest in the poetry of poverty. And that's wonderful. And that poetry is great. But I think we've had enough of it. I think it's about time we should move ahead. And yes, there are a lot of things which are wrong with our economy. We all concede it. The most important thing which is wrong is sometimes we make wrong decisions, we make misjudgments here and there. But overall, the thrust is very clear. We want India to be meaningful once again. So what if we'd fallen down? We want India in the economic league to be where we are in the cricket league. Because the headquarters of cricket is no longer Lord's. Lord's is a wonderful venue, but the headquarters of cricket is here. When Indian audiences want to watch cricket, the timings are adjusted. And that's our aspiration. That should be the aspiration. And constantly, if we are going to critique the government, we must say, why aren't we getting there faster? And we're talking about compliance. I want to just stop that. We were told West Bengal by people who make decisions on treadmills that West Bengal is the great haven of 90,000 MSMEs in this place. That Bengal is actually thriving from not quite the informal, but a little above the informal sector. We did some homework on that. And I asked a question to some of my people, how many of these people are registered for GST? And the answer was something like just a little above 1,000. So, you charge us for emphasizing compliance. I charge you for creating a tax-free regime for certain people who are your favorites, people who extracted mine, who did illegal things before, and that is the form of crony capitalism which must be replaced by a certain rule-based order. And that is why elections will be fought, yes, on the economy, it will also be fought on other things, but primarily it will be fought on the question of people having an aspiration that they want a better life. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a typical sixer from Swapan Dasgupta. Well done. How many of you have seen the 10 Commandments? You have? So the vision I have right now is Shopunda as Charlton Heston Moses getting the Jews of Bengal back to the motherland. Shopunda, may you fulfill that role. And I cannot but make a comment that, you talk about economists, great